Podcast League now. Starring the Casablanca Kid. He turns good taste into bad. Movie hero. He has a stutter, but he's smooth like butter. And Pez, with the ability to Pez.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Podcast League Now. This is episode number 11, and today we're talking about our worst movie tropes, or a.k.a. our pet peeves in movies that just movies do that like we are just not really a big fan of, and we'll kind of go back. We'll trade off one apiece, but I am your host, Jordan the Movie Hero Anderson, and I'm joined by my co-host Austin Pez. How's it going?
I'm good, man. I like to call it those movie eye rollers, man. You see them in movies and you go, "Oh, are they doing that again?" I've seen that in a dozen bad movies. Like, stop doing that. Yeah, that's what I kind of call them. These things that are just overused and really, when you think about it, are kind of lazy writing, tropes. It's like things that are written in there because they're just a way to get from one scene to a next or to create fake tension. We'll talk about it, but it's a lot of lazy stuff. But yeah, we'll talk about those things that we hate.
Yeah. But yeah, first off, we just kind of like to do a little check-in, just see how life's going, anything new or anything. But I don't know if there's anything new with you going on in Austin.
No. I mean, I meant to go see Bullet Train because you were talking about it. I just haven't had a chance to. I might go Sunday and go check it out. So I've just been watching some more stuff at home. I've been watching musicals, prepping for a podcast about movies with me and Jacob. So I know it's an odd thing for me because I'm not big on musicals, but I promised him we'd do a musicals episode, so now I gotta stick to my promise. I'm a man of my word. So I've been watching some of the ones on my list that I'm watching, a couple of his. Oddly enough, so Olivia Newton-John passed away this past week, right? And this is like a day before she passed away. I told Jacob we recorded our last show and kind of ran down the list of what I was going to watch, which included, oddly enough, just coincidentally, Xanadu, her crazy musical, her crazy roller skating musical, and Grease 2, which I know she's not in, but Grease 2, kind of a thing. So there's a connection there. I watched both of those movies. Xanadu is crazy. I'll give you that. It's bonkers. Yeah. It's nutty. It's definitely one of those movies that is 1980. Whoever wrote it was definitely on a lot of cocaine. It was definitely on some substances when they came up with it, because there's some sequences in there that are like, I don't know how you would even conceive of such a thing. I mean, the premise is just nutty, but it wasn't boring. I'll say that. It wasn't boring at all. And then Grease 2 is something there's all these people out there that love Grease 2 and put it above the original. I don't. I still think it's kind of bad. I don't love Grease 2. But I mean, it was all right. It's watchable, but I don't put it above the original. So and then today, the Black Phone dropped on Peacock, so I finally got a chance to see the Black Phone.
Okay.
Watched that on Peacock today. So and it's pretty good. Although I'll say, like, people were blowing it up like it was like a new coming of horror, and I'm like, no, I've seen about a dozen movies that are almost exactly like this. Yeah. Like, it was good, but like,
let's a lot of other movies.
Let's pull it back a little bit. I've seen a bunch of movies that are like almost exactly like this, bro. Let's relax on that a little bit, okay? like it was good. Don't get me wrong. Scott Derrickson is a good director. It's a good horror movie, but like, it's a good thriller. But yeah, like, people are acting like it's the greatest thing ever, and it's not. Like, but when you've seen as many horror movies as I have, it's like, relax, people. all right. It's good, but it's not in my top 5 of the year or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm going to be on Rankum tomorrow night, so we were doing Owen Wilson movies. I've been trying to watch some Owen Wilson movies, and we were talking a little bit before the show that I tried to watch Inherent Vice, and man, I freaking hate pretentious, like, artsy, just bullshit movies that are just way too highbrow. Like, the dialogue didn't make any sense. That they're using all these big words for no reason. They're almost like an old timey kind of language in like some ways, and like, you can't understand what's going on. Like, it's just like it. But like, from all the the trailers, like, it looks kind of interesting, but then the movie is not
The
good.
movie was sold like a slapstick comedy if you actually go back and watch the trailers, which is
Yeah.
why I saw it in the theater. And he was coming off of The Master at the time, which again, I know you don't like The Master. I did like The
No.
Master, so I was cool with that. And it looked like he was doing some kind of period piece, sort of wacky, off the wall detective movie. You know what I mean? With Joaquin
Yeah.
Phoenix. You go back and watch the trailer; it's all the goofy stuff of that movie. But then you watch the movie; it's like 2.5 hours of just boring nonsense. Like it's really bad, and I don't know. That I've seen the same thing online where like some people love it, but then like almost everybody else hates it. Like it thinks that movie is just the worst. And I have a history with PTA as far as like I'm very hit or miss with them. If you want to more, me and Henry Confidential ranked PTA like about 2 or 3 months ago, so you can go see that. But Inherent Vice is at the bottom of my list. Let's just put it that way. I did not enjoy it either. So one of those things.
Well, usually I'll try to watch a movie while I work out. I'll run on the treadmill for 20 minutes, and I'll put on a movie, and it usually helps distract me. So like the time will just fly by, and before I know it, I've already ran for 20 minutes. But I did it during Inherent Vice, and like I kept looking back at the treadmill. I'm like, man, I've only been running for like 3 minutes. Come on, like when's this gonna end? And so I didn't make it all the way through, but I wanted to at least make it to Owen Wilson's scenes, and the scenes didn't make a lot of sense, anyways. But then I watched a couple other Owen Wilson movies. I watched the one that dropped on Paramount Plus, Secret Headquarters. You have to tune in to rank them to see if I put it on my top 12 or not. But I'll say that it's definitely better than Inherent Vice. It's better than that, way better. So, but and then I started watching the Amazon movie Bliss, where it's him and Selma Hayek, and like he's in some kind of almost like an alternate reality or like some kind of state of mind. And that movie's kind of a little meta in some ways too, but it's better than Inherent Vice too so far. So even though it's a little confusing and stuff. So yeah, because like for me, like like what makes a movie good or like watchable, like you got to have something that you can relate to in some way, even like a small way, which I couldn't relate to anything in Inherent Vice. And then if you have good acting performances, and then good dialogue, and then like good camera work, and even like some really good music too, like all of that kind of helps to combine. And I felt like Inherent Vice had almost none of that, and so just like all right, like it's not that good. So
well, there you go.
But, yeah, and then I also so this is kind of going back into last weekend, but I went and saw the movie Bullet Train, and that movie's freaking awesome. The movie is so good. Like it's definitely in my top 5 of the year. I'm not gonna say it's my number 1 yet. I want to give it a little more time, but I mean it was really good. Probably the funniest I've ever seen Brad Pitt, and then there's some really cool cameos. I'm not gonna say who pops up, but there's some fun ones in there. So yeah, it's a fun time, and yeah, I don't really have too much going on. This is kind of the calm before the storm, where I'm just really trying to save money. We have our trip coming up, so whenever I have a big vacation or I got to spend a lot of money on things, it's like a calmer where I'm like trying to not spend money. I'm trying to like watch where I drive, so I don't have to fill up gas too much. I'm trying to eat from home, not go out to eat, all that stuff to just kind of save on money for that. Because I just bought my tickets for 3 days at Disney, and technically, so you buy 2 days, a 2-day park hopper, and then I bought my ticket for like the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween or whatever, and I even got a little discount from my dad. He gets a little 10% discount from where he works, because he works for Scentsy, the little candle warmer, and they license a lot of Disney products, so they get a little discount. And like, so even with that and the Halloween party, like 3 days is like way more expensive than the entire rest of our trip's gonna be. Like more expensive than Universal, and like we got a 5-day thing for Universal, like, and then like
Universal's like, just so much cheaper. Like Disney's so
expensive.
All the stuff
we're gonna do, like even besides Universal, like Disney's just a ripoff.
No, it just is. I mean, the one, to peek a little behind the curtain, like the Universal thing, each of the tickets I got, me and Jordan, were a buy 3 days, 2-park thing, get 2 days free. So we have basically 5 days for the price of 3. And even then, their park hopper passes, and the whole thing was like $300. So when you average out, even if you only do 4 days, I mean, it's like, $70 a day for both parks, which is like pretty good, which is pretty cheap, all things considered, to go bounce back and forth. I mean, the Halloween Horror Nights thing is about, $70 or $80, but I mean, it's worth it. That place, their Halloween thing is awesome. It's great. And they put a lot of detail into it. And, we'll probably get some, express passes closer to the thing, but because I'm saving up to get us some of those, so I think it'd be good to go for that. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's just like Disney's just. I think they just price gouge and like just basically take advantage of their base that just goes there all the time, and they can get away with it. And that's why I like Universal. Universal clowns them all the time on Twitter every time they do something stupid, that dumb genie thing, that they try to do.
Plus thing. You got to pay extra on top of all of that for Genie.
So it's a fast pass, but then you also got to pay for additional fee on top of the fast pass to even get a time. Like it's
and then certain
rides for a fast pass. Yeah.
Well, certain rides that they're most popular ones aren't even included, like the Rise of the Resistance and like the Avatar stuff. All of that's not even included.
The great thing about Universal, if you buy the Express Pass, like you can go use it whenever you want and just get in line.
You want, not at certain times.
So anytime you want, you just get in the Fast Pass line. I mean, you only use it once per ride, which is fine. That's part of the thing. But like, you can go anytime you want and just get in line. It's what a concept, right? Like it's crazy.
Yeah, but I'm not trying to disparage Disney or anything. Like, I'm really excited to go. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I haven't been there since 2003, so I haven't seen any of the Star Wars stuff, any of the Avatar stuff, any of the I got a new Guardians of the Galaxy ride and a Ratatouille ride, a few new ones. So like it will be fun, but man, like it's something you can't do that often because it's so expensive though.
Yeah.
so yeah, but yeah, it's not too much else going on. Tomorrow my nephew has a birthday going on. He's turning I want to say 7. I need to find out for sure, but he's having a whole Star Wars thing a birthday because he's big into especially Boba Fett and the Mandalorian. He's like really into all that stuff. So he's doing that. So we're gonna I come dressed in a bunch of Star Wars stuff, me and my dad. And then I don't want to give away what his present is, but I got him a really cool present because I always like to be the fun uncle. I'll just say this is an event we're gonna go to that'll be really cool. I can tell you off air, but but yeah, I want to spoil it in case they tune in because sometimes they do. So yeah, but yeah, so I got that. So I'm gonna have to do rank them, and I'm gonna rush over as soon as it's done straight over there. But they're just like 2 minutes down the road, so it's not bad.
Right.
So, so we'll get into our movie tropes. We decided we're going to do our top 20. I came up with a list of like 30 something of them, but like maybe I'll maybe post them either online on social media.
Or I might have some that you had on the extended one. You'll still be able to talk about it if I have it on mine because we haven't cross-referenced our list either. So we just figure we'll rattle them off, and if I have one that's on yours or vice versa, we'll just talk about it right then and there and just mark it off the list and just talk about them in general. Because and mine are definitely like mostly movies, but you see these in TV shows too. Like you see plenty of these in TV. So it's just like a Hollywood thing in general, stuff that, Hollywood writing, things. So yeah, it's just all those things you see that make you roll your eyes, that make you go, oh, come on. Or like, or not really? Again, or whatever, really. Yeah. It's those type of things. So you'll see what we mean.
A little weird.
So once we get going, you'll kind of see what we mean. But yeah, let's get into it, man. You want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
Maybe I'll go first this time because I let you go first last time. So yeah. And I decided to do a 20 because, I mean, some of these we might fly through it pretty quick. So I think we can handle 20. So, but yeah. So my first one, I roll my eyes every time that I see this. But when a person gets into a car and they need to get a quick getaway, and the keys are just right up on the visor or like on the seat or like by the tire somewhere, it's like nobody keeps their keys right in the car like that. That's just not a reality.
Why would you keep your keys in the car like that when you have to lock the car?
Yeah, when you have to lock it.
So how do you get back into the car if your keys are in the visor? Nobody ever does that. No, I've never known anybody that leaves their keys in the visor. That's really stupid. I almost had that on my list, but at the same time, I was just like, I don't know anybody that does that, like in real life. Have you ever known anybody, even people with, like a UPS driver or something with like no doors, but like that puts the keys in the damn visor? That's stupid.
No, like it just makes no. no sense, and especially you're going to do it even less if you leave the car unlocked. You're not just going to leave the keys sitting in there.
I think that's a thing that only exists in movie land.
Yeah,
People
right.
keep their keys in their visor. Like, I don't know anybody that's ever done that. So that's just one of those goofy Hollywood things. I don't know where that came from or where that started. But yeah, that's really stupid. That's just one that's stupid. You just go like, that's dumb. Well, everybody keeps their keys with them.
Yeah, and I will say that my list is really in no particular order, except for the top two are my number 1 and 2.
Okay.
Like definitively, but all the rest are just pretty interchangeable. So.
Yeah, mine are fairly interchangeable too, but I'll do another car one. How about I'll stick with the theme right there? So I hate in movies when people are driving and they're going like this with the wheel the whole time in a store. They're just driving on a road and they're just turning the wheel back and forth, back and forth. Like if you ever did that in real life, you'd be swerving in and out of lanes and like slamming into everything. Why, if you're driving on a straight line, can't somebody in the movie just hold the wheel still? We get the idea that you're driving. You don't have to do this to think there's constant motion. They do that in old movies a lot too. I don't understand this. Like that doesn't make any sense. So that's just one of like those car things that annoys me when they're just constantly feel like they have to do something with the wheel. You don't have to. If you're driving on the highway, you were driving home today, right? Like if you're on the highway or something, you just hold your hand steady on the damn wheel if you're driving straight.
Yeah, and
it's
I'm
not
not
that difficult.
Like run off the road and run all the cars around me off the road.
So that's just one thing I remember seeing in a lot of movies, and that always just drives me nuts. Yeah, I don't understand why people have to do that.
Well, it's funny that they do that so much that like when I was a kid, you see a lot of little kids do that when they see it. Like when they get in a little toy car, they start going like this back and forth. And so when like obviously when I took my driver's test and a driver's ed, I realized that's not how you drive. But like probably up until I was about 10, 12 years old, I thought maybe that's how you actually drive, So I'm like, yeah,
it's one of those things. I wish they would just. I mean, lately I've seen movies where they just like hold their hands up there, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like maybe they finally like cooled off on that. But especially older movies, you'll just see them like doing that the whole time. It's just weird. I watched that movie Lolita like a few weeks back. It's a Kubrick movie, and there was a scene where they're in the car just driving. He's like going like this the whole time. I'm like, stop that! You're gonna run into somebody. Knock it off.
Well, it's a clear sign that like they're either in front of a green screen or they're being towed or like something. Like they're not on the actual road really driving. So it kind of takes you out of the movie. But yeah, well, I'll stick to even another car one for my number 19. So my other pet peeve is when someone's on foot, they're being chased by a car, so the car's coming after them behind them, and it takes them like a minute or like 2 minutes, sometimes even 3 minutes for the car to catch up to them. It's like in real life, that car would be on you in like 3 seconds and like like run you over or like catch up to you. But in movies, it's like sometimes like someone on foot can somehow outrun a car when they're being chased by it. I don't get it.
Well, or if somebody's on foot getting chased by a car, why wouldn't you run like sideways, like run behind a building or something?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
find some object that they can't drive over.
In the middle of the road.
Yeah, you stand in the middle of the road, like go hide behind a light post so they can't run you over, or like go get behind a tree, go get in a ditch, like where they can't get over, or But I think one of the most worst examples of like, it's like they're catching up, but they're not catching up, but they try to make it seem like they are catching up. Like I know we both love Back to the Future, 2. The tunnel sequence with the hoverboard. It's like, dude, he's in a V8 Ford, which would easily catch up to him on that hoverboard. I'm sorry, he would have ran his ass over like pretty much immediately. And it's one of those things where it's like, it's. I don't know. There's no way a person should be able, unless you're the T-1000, you're Robert Patrick in that movie.
Yeah, right.
Running as fast as a motorcycle, you shouldn't be able to do that. So here, I got one more driving one I have on the list. Actually, I have other car ones, but this is another driving one. So it's when somebody had a car, and this one just makes me nervous, and it's very unrealistic. When somebody looks to the person next to them is having a full-on conversation and they're not looking at the road. Like that makes me nervous. So either that means they're about to get hit, which is what I always expect when they start doing that, or just like it's completely unrealistic. How many times in your car, dude, if you look away from the road for like 2 seconds, you can get into an accident. Like literally, like somebody in front of you could hit their brakes or something. Somebody could run in front. Like, but you see these in movies all the time where they're looking over like this and they have a full on like 30-second conversation. It's like, look at the road. What are you doing? Look at the road you're driving.
Right.
Whoa. Stop it.
Right.
You're making me nervous. Don't do that.
Well, I like how they make fun of it in Dumb and Dumber too. When he turned around, he's like, Mary, statistically speaking, blah 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 blah. And he's like talking about the stats about it and everything.
Yeah. So I don't like that. It makes me nervous in the wrong way. Like not nervous to the character. I'm just like stop. Like look at the damn road when you're driving. You can have like me and you are going to be in the car for the road trip, right? I'm pretty confident I can have a conversation with you, Jordan, while I'm looking at the road.
Yeah,
you know, straight ahead. I don't have to look at you dead in the eyes while we're talking. That's just silly. I don't like that.
It's weird. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's another one of mine.
Well, my number 18 is actually a horror related one. To be my first horror one.
Oh, I got plenty of horror ones on my list. Yeah.
Yeah, but like my first horror one is when one person sees a ghost or like some kind of paranormal thing or like something happening in the house and they get upset, so they go and tell the spouse, and like the spouse just gets really upset and like tell them that they're crazy. Like, you're crazy. No, that's not going to happen. And they end up getting in this big fight about it. And it's like, especially makes it even worse when there's clear evidence of things moving around the house or like things happening, or like they have a child that's in hysterics, kind of like I always refer to that movie Insidious. It's my favorite horror movie of all time. But the husband gets like really pissed off. But like clearly, like there's things happening to their child. There's things happening to the wife. But he just gets really pissed off Patrick Wilson, or what happens in like so many different horror movies. And it's like, if you love your spouse, like at least look into it. Like see if what they're could be true, you know. And it's like.
I actually had this conversation with my ex, Jordan, at one point. I said, all right, so if you ever came to me and said you saw something, you know, while you were driving, or you saw something in the middle of the night or whatever, and it was like something you couldn't explain, right? I said, I will ask you certain questions to make sure it's not an easily explainable thing, right? Yeah, make sure like you weren't just dreaming, or you weren't on some kind of drug or alcohol, you know what I mean, or something, some kind of substance, you know, that might have altered your brain or whatever. But I will not not believe you. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? I'll at least take your word for it initially, you know, and be like, maybe there's something going on, you know, something. Yeah.
Well, it's one thing to question it, but it's like in these movies where like they're getting like a full blown.
It's like, Jesus Christ, again! Come on, what are you talking about again with this?
Yeah, like they're gonna end their whole entire marriage over it, like what kind of thing. And some movies they actually do end their marriage over it. Like, it's just annoying. I don't know.
Well, and if their kid, like you said, if the kid is in some kind of obvious trauma, like the kid is clearly like in hysterics over something they saw, like maybe it's not like a ghost, but they might have seen something. Like there might have been somebody outside the window. There might be something like, you know, something going on. You know, it's like at least investigate it a little bit. Do something.
Well, at least show a little compassion, at least.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
No, that's a good one.
Yeah.
So again, I don't know. I have just random ones on here. Okay, so they don't do this as much anymore, but especially in a lot of like 80s and 90s movies, when somebody goes into a bar and just orders beer, that annoys me. Oh, I'll have a beer. Okay, you want to be more specific? Because we have like 20 beers. You want to be more specific? Right. You want a tall beer? You want a short beer? You want a bottle beer? You want a draft beer? You want an import beer? You want a domestic beer? Yeah, we just hand you something. Like, what kind of beer do you want? How about you be more specific? Give me a beer. And then they hand them brand beer. Like, you see that in a lot of movies, like where they don't have a license to show something. So it literally just has like a similar label and just says beer on it. That's bullshit. Stop that.
Yeah, right.
I hate non-specifics in movies. Like, just go in and order a beer. Like, get out of here with that. Come on.
Like, sure, yeah, no problem. Yeah, especially older movies. Yeah, a lot of older movies do that. Yeah.
So that's just like a little. I have a lot of little ones that just annoy me.
Sure. Yeah. Well, my number 17, like, so this was a little bit of a cheat. They kind of combine two into one, sort of, but.
Sure. I've got a gun one that combines like four into one that I'll just lump into one thing. So I'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah. Well, Malcolm's in the chat.
Yeah, but here's the problem, Malcolm. There's IPAs, there's drafts, there's pilsners, there's imports, there's these hard seltzers now, there's ciders, there's 8 million alcoholic beverages. You can't just order beer, because not all beers are beer. Maybe back in the day when you went to a bar and all they had was Budweiser, that's one thing. But like now, if you walk into a bar, they're gonna have 25 different beers. You got to be specific, like about beer.
Yeah, right.
They're very and a pilsner is not a pale ale, which is not an IPA, which is not a draft lager. You know what I mean? Like, they're not the same. They're not the same at all.
They're all different. Yeah. Well, my number 17, like I said, like there's kind of two in one, but so the first part of it is when somebody walks into the house, they just leave the door wide open, the front door. They don't close it; they just walk in, and then like proceed to like do whatever they're gonna do, but the door's wide open. That always kind of gets to me. Or if they sit down to eat something, they don't even touch the food the whole entire time, or they like order food and like they'll be like I just brought home this Chinese takeout, and then they sit down, but they don't even touch it, and they just move on with the movie. Or like go to a restaurant and like order a lot of food, and they just get up and leave because they have to like go somewhere. It's like you're not gonna take that to go. You're not gonna touch it, or like leaving the door wide open. For me, that's one of my like bigger pet peeves. That's like more of a personal thing. Like I can't even sleep like in my own bedroom. I have to have the all the doors completely shut. It's just like a weird thing, or I can't really sleep. It's one of those things. So yeah.
I have a similar one to that for my next one. It's similar to the food thing. It's when you see this in a ton of movies, especially family movies or something. The husband or the dad or whatever like comes down from downstairs, and somebody has prepared like a basically a buffet that could feed 12 people of breakfast. Of like there's 20 stacks of pancakes, there's a fruit bowl, there's a plate of eggs on each spot, there's like 40 pieces of toast, there's 10 biscuits, there's a jug of syrup, there's a pitcher of orange juice. There's all this stuff that could feed like an entire village. And the guy comes in and goes, "Oh, I don't really have time to eat. I'll just have a bite of this," and then just leaves. Like, fuck you.
Like grab an apple and like go out the door. Or
they grab a bite of toast and then they just leave. Like, this happens all the time. Like, Jordan, as food connoisseurs as you and I are, right? Yeah. You know what the hardest food to save for leftovers is freaking breakfast food. You can't save breakfast food other than if it's biscuits and sausage, you can reheat those. Like those you can salvage. But like you can't salvage pancakes. You can't salvage toast. You can't salvage eggs. You can't salvage bacon. You can't salvage that stuff. So like whoever made this giant wonderful breakfast has spent looks like probably an hour making all this stuff. Right. And the guy just comes down because he couldn't get up earlier and then and be on time. Like has to like just basically bypass all this breakfast and just leaves. Like that annoys me. Like what happened to all that food, man? I'd be so mad. Like no, you sit your ass down, you eat this damn food that I prepared an hour.
Yeah,
so that annoys me.
Well, some of that, like I put the blame on the mom or the wife a little bit because like you got to know the person's schedule. So like if it's your son and you know they got to be at school, they don't have time to sit down and eat like a 3-course breakfast. It's like you can't just have it prepared and expect them to be able to eat it if you know they got to be somewhere quick. So like sometimes you got to know the person's schedule. So it's like I made this for you. Okay, well, great, but I got to go. I don't have time, So
yeah, I know. It's just a thing that annoys me that I've seen in 19,000 movies where like they just come in, they take a bite of toast, and they leave. Like screw you! I can't save all these pancakes.
yeah. Right.
You're gonna have stuff some of these in your briefcase and eat them on the way to work.
Right. Yeah. They're gonna make you take some of this with you. Yeah. But what's your number 17?
So yeah, that one was one of mine, but I'll just go to my next one because it kind of tied into yours, so I just wanted to get out of the way. All right, so how about this one? So how about when there's a group of people standing in a circle and they're all contemplating a situation? Each one of them finishes each other's points around the circle, just so we can get camera cuts going around the circle. So so if you think about, there's a good example of this in The Force Awakens when they're all talking about the Death Star plan, and somebody will go, so the object of this thing is we need to get the laser or whatever. Yeah, and what that'll do is that'll trigger this, and we catch another person, and what that'll do is then we can do this, and like it bounces from person to person to person. I'm like, who decided the order of who was going to talk here? If I was that person, I'd be like, okay, I was making my point. Like, you didn't have to talk. I was going to say that. Like, stop interrupting me. Like, they just do that just so everybody can have a line of dialogue, which is just weird. Because in a normal conversation, somebody will lead the conversation and then maybe turn it over to somebody to fill in some kind of thing, but it just bounces around like in perfect sync. You know what I mean? I know it's like a thing where they're trying to get all the characters in on it, but it just doesn't make any logical sense for somebody like leading the conversation. So I don't like that. When they're standing in a circle, all conveying information, and everybody's got to make like a little point and keep the thing going. It's just weird. It's very awkward.
Well, especially if you're talking about something pretty important. Like if I'm talking about that, I'm like, hold on, let me finish what I'm saying.
Yeah. Godzilla King of the Monsters does that a lot too, which annoys me about that movie. Like every scene where the people are just like spouting dialogue in that movie, like exposition, they're all like each conveying one sentence apiece, which annoys me. Like, just have one person convey all the stuff, and maybe have one or two people ask questions here and there. That's fine.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. My number 16. So, like, this is the movie trope, but it's also kind of like, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes it'll just happen regardless if people don't know what the hell they're doing. But when it comes to this, but I hate bad sound design in a movie. So, like, when like things don't have realistic sounds. So, like, when like guns don't sound like actual guns, when they sound like a pop gun, and they're just way too quiet, or explosions, they just sound really weird or really awkward. Like a big offender. There's this movie called Appaloosa with Ed Harris. Have you ever watched that?
Oh, yeah, the Western.
Yeah, the guns in that. If you go back and watch that thing, the guns sound like freaking pop guns. They don't sound like actual real guns. Like, if you never shot guns before, most people need earplugs for those things because they're so dang loud. And it's like these things sound like little toy guns going off, barely making any noise. And like it's just like lazy and like annoying that they don't want to take the time to make them sound realistic, you know?
Yeah.
So.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So I'll get into the guns thing because I've got several things, several rants about guns in movies.
Sure, yeah.
Because I know guns. I own several. I've been to the range many, many times. Like I know guns.
You have one that's similar to mine. Probably we'll see.
Probably I have several. So several gun ones. I'll just rattle them off real quick. So when the ammo doesn't match the gun in the movies. So when I know the fact that like an M16, a standard one that they shoot in movies, holds about 16 bullets, and then it seems like they shoot about 50 times with those things. Yeah. Like that's terrible. When I will literally count stuff with revolvers because revolvers will either hold 5 or 6 shots.
Yeah.
And these guys will shoot like 12 times with a revolver, and that annoys me. It's like, no, those shoot like 5 or 6 bullets, period.
Yeah, right.
So I don't like that. I don't like when guns don't have any recoil in movies because guns in real life have recoil. Like like your basic 9mm, I'll go to the range and shoot it. It has a recoil. It will kick back. The same with shotguns. The people who shoot shotguns in movies, shotguns have the most ridiculous recoil that will hurt your shoulder really, really bad.
Oh yeah,
and,
you shoot it a certain way. Yeah.
One of the most ridiculous offenders of this is there's an episode of The Walking Dead, and I think it was the finale for the 2nd season. I don't know if you watched The Walking Dead at all. So it was basically the shootout at Herschel's farm, right?
Okay.
So Glenn is sitting in a car in the passenger seat with a full 12-gauge shotgun, just popping off things with 0 recoil whatsoever. So 3 things wrong with this. So A, the noise from you shooting a shotgun right next to your ear in a car would blow your eardrums out, period.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. 2, the shotgun, if you shot it, would not only knock your shoulder and probably break your shoulder against the seat, but it would also probably kick up into the windowsill of the car, and damn near like break something in the car. You know what I mean? And like you would have no accuracy whatsoever with a shotgun in a car, like none whatsoever. And then of course Herschel then stands out on the porch and he's cocking and shooting, and he shoots like, I swear to God, there's one scene where he shoots 13 times with a shotgun. And shotguns hold like 6 bullets max. So that annoys me to no end. Like when there's no recoil, when the sound design is not right. Also you see this all the time in movies when a guy will pull out a handgun and there's like a cocking noise just when he pulls it out. That doesn't happen in real life. There's not a cocking noise when you pull a gun.
No,
I don't know where that noise comes from. It's like it's going to signify that you're pulling a gun out. Also, when people in movies, just for intimidation or just for a line, will go like, all right, let's go do this. Well, you just ejected one of your bullets, dummy.
Right.
Bullet. So you just ejected one of your bullets for no reason, because that's what a shotgun does. It ejects the cartridge. So if you have a full shotgun with 6 bullets and you do this and it's full, it's going to eject one of the cartridges. Now you only have 5 bullets. Stupid. I don't understand. I know it's like supposed to be like, oh, it's just like cool in movies, but like it makes no realistic sense. Like you just wasted a bullet. So I hate gun stuff in movies. Like when it's not treated. The one that treats it well is John Wick. Like John Wick will treat it like he reloads throughout those movies. Like he does it quickly. Yeah. He holds guns the proper way. There is recoil. There's certain things where like, that the one in the second one where he has like the bullet with 7 bullets, like he actually uses 7 bullets and he has to get another gun. Like, they actually treat it correctly. So, but a lot of movies don't. And that stuff annoys me. So guns in movies annoy me a lot, like a lot. So I just had to get all this out there.
Well, I have one that like kind of relates to that I could just say it now, or I could wait because it's higher up on my list. It's one of my top ones, but
it's up to you.
But I'll just say it now because it like relates quite a bit. They just have an unlimited ammo when they never reload and they just shoot and shoot and shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with machine guns, like they just shoot and shoot and shoot forever and they never reload. And it's just like guns do not have unlimited ammo.
Well,
you gotta reload them.
And as much as I love Predator 2, the opening scene of Predator 2, where you have the one guy with the long hair that's snorting all the cocaine, that's shooting the two Uzis, right? He's shooting these dueling Uzis, which those Uzis, those Scorpions, those are Tech 9 Scorpions. The chamber, the magazine for that only holds about 20 bullets max. Yeah. So, like, if you're shooting them automatic, your gun would be empty in about 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, right.
So, and yet he just keeps and it's like, dude, you can't keep going. Like, that thing doesn't have a 500 round magazine. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
so, it's just annoying.
We do the same thing in Rambo, some of the Rambo movies where you're just shooting and shooting like forever, he doesn't reload. But let's see. Well, for my next one, my number 15. So I got to talk about the gratuitous product placement. Like, I got to mention that. Just because there's some movies that are such bad offenders of it. It's crazy. Like, I actually watched the biggest offender is obviously Michael Bay. Like, he's horrible at it. And the thing is, it's like there's a YouTube video you can watch where they go through Michael Bay's entire filmography and they put on every single instance of it.
The Mark Wahlberg drinking the Bud Light right in the middle of the scene.
Yeah. Just like really aggressively and throws it down. You see cans just like littered everywhere or like bottles and stuff. And the final count from all of Michael Bay's filmography, 555 instances of product placement in filmography total. It's nuts. Yeah. Like,
I remember even watching the original Transformers, and isn't there a scene where there's like in an alley or some side street, like one of the Transformers like turns out of like a Mountain Dew machine and starts running around? Like something like that.
They have like an Oreo machine where it's like some kind of Oreo machine or like something like that. And it's like, what the hell? It's just really weird. And then he has Oreo actually on the robot himself. I'm like, okay. Yeah. Or like some of the newer TMNTs, and those are kind of Michael Bay movies too. I mean, to an extent. And so those have a lot. Or like the newer Power Rangers movie where they literally blow up an entire
Krispy Kreme. Oh my god! And there's even a scene where she's she literally like picks up. She's like, "Ooh, what is this? A Krispy Kreme donut?"
Right.
Like, it's so terrible.
Like, really?
Like, wow.
Yeah, and there's some movies that'll actually do a product placement right. You'll like see it in there for like a second, but it's very subtle, or they use it in like a creative way. But like Michael Bay, like he's the worst at it.
The worst of the offender of this was like in the early 2000s. You saw a lot of those Sony Vaio laptops, and what they would do was they would like fold it up right in front of the right in front of the camera to where it said Vaio on the back of it.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, they got to fold it. Get a nice shot of that right on the back of the camera. And and cars, when they'll pull up right in front of the camera, so you can see the logo, like the Mercedes logo or the Audi or whatever, like right in the front. Like that.
Well, like in this YouTube video, they literally take the dialogue from the Chevy commercial for the Chevy Camaro that they use in it, and then they like stick it in there for the first shot that you see it of the Camaro like coming down the road, and it fits perfectly, and it looks like an actual commercial. Like if you didn't know you're watching a movie, you'd swear you're watching an actual commercial. Like it's nuts. Yeah. But what's your
okay, so my next one is this just annoys me when anybody on a phone in a movie, especially in like a crazy situation, doesn't say goodbye or ends the conversation on the phone. They just like hang up the phone. Like that annoys me. Like they're just like Jason Bourne's on the run. And just puts the phone down. Like, okay, I guess the conversation's over. Like, how would you know unless you looked at your phone? Like, he never hangs it, like, kicks the button to hang it up, or they just go like, blah 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 blah, and then just like, there's no goodbye, there's no over, there's no nothing. Like, they just don't say anything. They don't end the conversation. That's strange to me. Like, why does anybody say goodbye in movies?
Especially with like cell phones, it's like you almost don't even know are we still in the middle of this conversation, or have we moved on to the next scene, or what's going on? Because with the old phones, you can actually slam it down, or you can like put it back on the wall, or like whatever. But like with the cell phone, sometimes you can't even tell. You're like, okay, Guess we're
Well,
done with that.
there's no dial tones with cell phones, so if the conversation just ends, it just ends. Like it's just like there's no noises unless you physically turn click the button. Like I don't know. It's gotten real weird with cell phones and movies where people just don't wrap up the conversation with some kind of ending. Everything the conversations just end on cell phones. It's just weird.
Yeah, well,
so that happens a lot in TV shows, like CSI type TV shows. A lot you see that all the time. Yeah.
Well, Malcolm's kind of right. Like I did see a Bullet Train recently. It's a big offender in that one because he's on the phone a lot.
Yeah. That annoys me. Like, why was the conversation over? Because you just put the phone down. Okay, I guess it's over.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah. So my number 14. So like certain movies that do it. Speaking of Bullet Train Act, this one is actually a big offender of this one, but it's when one character is only alluded to the entire movie, but they don't show up to the very end of the movie, so you never really see them, and they show up at the end, and it's like a big reveal of this character. It's like really like come on, like it would have been really cool to see this character in there. Like it's like Bullet Train does it, or like Kill Bill, like you don't see it to the end, or like some of those movies where it's just like really.
Well,
so like
apparently Bullet Train also did something that I heard about, I haven't seen it yet, where they put the names of the people on screen when they introduce them. That annoys me. Do they do that?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yep, they definitely do that.
They put like the description of the person on screen, like the Suicide Squad, but the first Suicide Squad was bad about that. Like with all their stats on the screen, like whenever they introduced them.
Looks kind of cool the way they show it, but still, like it's just kind of like I don't know, cheesy a little bit. Yeah, yeah, but like sometimes I know that there's a clear reason to like save a character until the end, but like to the very end of the whole thing, and they show up right at the end, and you're like really okay, that would have been a cool character to have, but I guess not. Kind of wasted.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So my next one is when somebody calls someone and says, "Turn on the news, you'll see." And they just happen to turn on the news and getting the exact information at the exact moment they turn it on. So like
immediately there,
immediately there on the and also they're on the right channel immediately. Like they never have to change the channel. They never have to wait for the TV to like boot up. Like think about modern TVs. Like I don't have cable, so like I won't know how I would check the news. But even if you did, what's the odds that your TV will be on the exact channel you need to be on to get the information?
Yeah, like they don't tell them which channel to turn.
They're just like turn the TV on. It's like okay, then maybe that would work back in the '60s when there's 3 channels and you could turn on one of the 3 channels on your TV when there's just like CBS and NBC. But like that doesn't make any sense. Like and they turn it on and then they if the person was watching the news, right, like the person who made the call. Like, why would they be repeating the information 3 minutes later when the other person turned on the thing? They always do that. I've even seen ones where they go to repeat a murder and blah 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 blah. Like it's like why would you repeat that? You just said it 2 minutes ago. Like that's just weird. Like that just annoys me. All the coincidental stuff. That's lazy writing to me. Like I don't know.
Well, especially nowadays with smart TVs and stuff. Like sometimes when you first turn your TV on, like it's on a menu, and then you got to go to your actual channel, or you got to go to something. It's just like that was actually one of my pet peeves, but it's just outside the top 20. So I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, but that annoys me to know. You don't see it much anymore because of the whole internet smart TV thing now. You know what I mean? But like you saw this a lot in like 90s movies. Turn the TV on. You won't believe what's on TV right now. It's like, well, how'd you know my TV was going to be on channel 10?
Yeah, right.
like how'd you know it wasn't on the comedy channel or the movie channel or something? Like, wait a minute, I got to change the channel. Like,
it's like, well, my TV, it's a rerun of Seinfeld. I don't know what you're watching, right? It's like,
they're not doing breaking news about some local breaking news on Comedy Central right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So for my next one, my number 13, this is actually something that my dad brought up the other day, which I actually agree with. But when a crucial piece of information for the plot is shown through a text message on a tiny little phone screen, and it's like you have to squint to even see it, or like blink and you miss it. Sometimes they don't show it on screen for long enough for you to really even read the whole thing. If you're in a movie theater, like you just completely miss it. If you're at home, you can rewind it, you can pause it, you can be like, what does that say? Oh, that's like a crucial thing to the plot. But like in a theater, like sometimes you just miss it and you're like, okay, like I just missed that. I just don't understand why they put put a crucial thing. If you want to just put a little for fun thing, sure, but don't put like a crucial part of the plot in
Text.
a text message that you have to read. Yeah, it's just
Well,
like
or I've seen movies that get a little more innovative with their text, where they'll put the text like on screen, like on a little bubble thing. Like,
oh yeah,
so they'll blow it up a little bit, like as far as what they're seeing, like some of those like more
that's better. Yeah,
those more like creative, kind of over the top movies or something. We'll do that. But yeah, if a character like looks at their phone real quick, it's like, wait, I didn't get to see what was on your phone. Stop.
Yeah, right. I guess I'm out of the loop on that one. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
No, that's a good one. All right, so I have something kind of similar to what we've been talking. So it's similar to the beer thing. So like when somebody in a movie, especially a rom-com, just goes, all right, like I'll see you at 8. See you where?
Oh, yeah.
When?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
What are we doing? What's the plan? I'll see you at 8. Okay, you picking me up? Am I picking you up? like where are we going? We going to a restaurant? We going to a movie? We going to a brewery?
Like, pick me up at 8. It's like, do I even have your phone number? Do I not, like, did we exchange numbers, or like what's going on?
Yeah, pick up at 8. Yeah, what does that even mean? So yeah, we didn't exchange numbers. We don't know what we're doing. So how do I dress for the occasion? What do we do? Like, do I dress casual? Do I dress up? Where are we going? Are we eating food? Do I need to eat beforehand? Or am I going to eat afterwards? like life doesn't work like that. Like if me and you, Jordan, are saying like, hey, we're going to go to a brewery at like 8 o'clock or whatever, and we're just going to get some drinks. Okay, cool. Now I know what we're doing. You know what I mean? It's like, but we're just like, oh, I'll see you tomorrow morning, Jordan.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
What are we doing? Bye. Yeah. No, you see this all the time in movies where they just have like these vagaries. Yeah, where they haven't even like switched numbers. Like, how do you know? Like, what's your address? I don't know. Where do you live? Like, I don't even know where I'm going. Like half the time they don't even exchange like addresses. Like, how did I find your information?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Vagaries in movies just bug me. Like I don't know. Like I understand it's a movie. We just got to get to like the next scene and they're gonna meet up. But like, I wish. Yeah, I know these are like mundane details, like of life details, but at the same time, it just makes it makes me ask more questions that are unnecessary. When you could just be like, hey, let me get your number. All right, I'll text you tonight. You know what I mean? And then we'll go out. Yeah, you could just say something like that, and then that way they could be having off-screen text messages. We don't need to see setting up the date. You know what I mean? Like that's fine. Like I don't mind that.
Well, like I think I was actually in a movie once, and like something like that. Happened, and the guy behind me was like, he's not gonna pick her up. He didn't even get her number. Like,
yeah,
that's not gonna work.
He was just trying to get out of the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's totally gonna stand her up.
Yeah. Yeah, but
so I don't like that.
Yeah, for my number 12, so it's when a person gets shot in like the shoulder or like the butt or like a non-vital organ on their body, but it's treated like the most minor thing. You just need to put a little pressure on it, or sometimes they don't even address it. They just kind of move on.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you only got shot in the butt. Okay, just move on. And they're like going through like a big action scene. They're like jumping like on things. They're like driving cars or doing like all kinds of stuff. It's like you need to go to the hospital, or you need to get that at least looked at. Like you need to like treat it somehow, or you're gonna bleed out, or like you're gonna get an infection, or like sometimes they just flat out ignore it and it goes away. Like they did something like that in the so I watched The Man from Toronto recently. They do that where like Kevin Hart gets shot in the butt, but then they go to the bathroom and then he kind of wipes it like a little bit. And he's like, you'll be fine. And they move on. They don't address it the rest of the whole movie. I'm like, okay.
Well, wait a minute. He's got a bullet in him.
Yeah, he has a bullet inside of his body.
Unless it hit you and it went through you, which sometimes they do that in movies where like the bullet will go through them. But like to go through you, it'd have to be a really high-powered bullet. In which case, you'd have a giant hole in you.
Yeah, you got a giant hole. Gonna be bleeding everywhere.
But if it's a smaller caliber gun, like a 9mm, that's going to stick inside your flesh, and that's going to create problems. That's going to block blood flow. That's going to make you bleed a lot. It's bad. Like you need to get that treated.
Well, sometimes when I'm just shaving, I'll have like a little nick, and it'll be bleeding for
bleeds
like 20,
and bleeds
minutes. Yeah, and it's like I gotta take care of it. I can't just ignore it.
Sometimes you'll pick a book or two hard, and your nose will start bleeding for 5 minutes. Like much less a bullet.
Yeah, right.
You pick the wrong booger and you start bleeding.
Yeah,
yeah.
You pulled the wrong plug out of there. Yeah.
You scrape a little mini scab off your arm, and it's just bleeding for like 20 minutes. Yeah, I mean that's pop a pimple too hard, it bleeds.
Right.
Minutes. Yeah, much less a bullet. Bullet. Yeah, not treating bullet wounds always bugs me as well, because there's so many things that could come about that, and the fact that depending where you hit, like that might disable your arm or your leg or whatever, like if it's a vital nerve or something, you
right.
really hurt yourself. So
yeah, right. Because like sometimes people act like it didn't even hurt. You're just like that would hurt pretty bad. You'd be in excruciating pain. You'd be like doubled over on the ground in pain, not being able to move. Come on.
All right.
Yeah. So what's your...
Okay, so I'll do another sort of action one. I hate inconsistent countdowns in movies where, it says there's 5 minutes on the clock and 20 minutes later into the movie, it's still at 2 minutes or whatever. Like, that just bugs me. It's like, no, wait, we've seen like 20 minutes worth of stuff going on. Like, this clock should be at 0 by now. You know what I mean? That, and also, when villains set a timer for like 15 minutes when they clearly could just set it for 2 and just leave and it would blow up immedly, or why even have a timer that shows like a giant display? Why not just have a thing that you set like on a remote thing to where there's no actual countdown on the bomb, and then only you would know when it blows up. Or just press the button. Just leave the scene and then press the button. Just blow it up. Why have a countdown?
Like one of my things too is, to kind of go along with that too, is like when someone's trying to defuse a bomb, and in a movie, every time it's down to the last second, 1 second, every single time, it's like you're not going to defuse it with like 20 seconds or like a minute left.
Well, and also they always switch the wire at the last second. Red wire. Okay, no, blue. And you click it.
Blue. This one. Okay. Yeah. It's like really. Or like when someone's trying to defuse it, let's just like say that it, like for once, they actually get it wrong and it blows up in their face. I mean, that's a reality. That's a possibility.
That's like MacGruber.
It's like MacGruber every time he gets it wrong. Right.
But I wish somebody would actually die one time trying to defuse the bomb and just blows up in their face and they die.
Right.
But we can't do that because they're the hero. So all right. Yeah, go ahead.
For my next one, this might not be one that maybe bothers you so much, but certainly it bothers me though. But it's mostly in horror movies, but sometimes in an action movie too, when there's clearly way too much blood, especially Tarantino movies too. It's like someone gets like shot, they get hacked, and it's squirting out blood like some bloodbath, or like there's blood everywhere, or like their intestines and their organs are like splattered everywhere, and it's like no, that's not realistic. It's not how it happened. And then also like the vice versa kind of bugs me too, when they get shot or when they get cut or like whatever, and there's no blood, and you're like no, that's not realistic. There would be some blood there. So either way, I think that for me the right perfect amount is how they did it in the Deadpool movies. They have enough blood to make it look like it's actually bloody, or like in like Logan or something, like there's enough blood, but it's not like a bloodbath that's spraying and squirting everywhere. That's why I don't like that movie The Green Room, because it's like way too over the top with all the like blood scenes. Like a guy gets shot with a shotgun and automatically it's like hamburger meat. It looks like an actual package of ground beef, and I'm like, that's not realistic. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can excuse the blood thing if the movie is sort of designed that way. Like if you see, like if you take the movie 300 for example, and it's like digital blood, so it's just shooting everywhere every time somebody gets like cut or something. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things where it's just blood all over the screen and stuff. But that's like, it's an over-the-top sort of comic booky type of thing, so I'm okay with that. Like, and even in the first Kill Bill, that's the way that the movie's kind of designed, is that like it's one of those over-the-top like horror movie things where they chop an arm off and just shoots out like a geyser, everywhere. Which
like a geyser, yeah,
like some fountain of blood. Yeah, I mean that happens a lot. But I think if that's the way it's intended, it doesn't bother me enough. But some of them in real life, if you got something cut, like it would bleed, but it doesn't bleed the way it does in movies, like a slow trickle or something, or it would just be a puddle pretty quickly, that sort of thing. Like it wouldn't shoot out everywhere.
Well, it's like a lot of times that'll like take me out of the movie. I'll be like, okay, this went from like realistic to like comic booky, or like it's just not realistic anymore. Yeah.
So, all right. Yeah. So, all right, this is another minor one, but I'll get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Why do women in movies, when there's just been like a sex scene or something, and there's clearly an intimate situation with the two people, when they get out of bed, they bring the sheet with them to cover themselves up? Why?
because they want to make it PG-13 instead of R. I don't know.
Right. Like, that's the reason. And because that doesn't make sense. Why would you cover yourself up when you just had sex with that person? They clearly saw you naked and we're doing something intimate with you. And they're walking around with just like a sheet like covering up, like they can't show you their naughty bits when clearly you were showing them your naughty bits just a few minutes ago. Like that's very strange in movies, like where that's just the woman using the sheet, like holding up the sheet to cover herself up. Like that always just bugs me for some reason. I don't know. Or they're even just sitting in the bed and they pull the sheets up to cover themselves up. It's like, why?
Yeah. It's like it's just you two together. But
there's nobody else here. Yeah, it'd be one thing if somebody ran in and like ran in on the house and you covering yourself up. But like if it's just you two, you're having a conversation. Why do you need to cover yourself up other than the fact that you're in a PG-13 movie? So we have to cover
right. But I do like though, like in like some movies, like go with the opposite when they find creative ways to kind of cover them up. But they're not actually covering themselves up, but they find like objects in the room to kind of just like have like creative camera angles where you don't see it.
Well, that's the Austin Powers thing. The where they're like ducking, or she's like holding up the melons, or they're like ducking behind the thing, or I mean that's just making fun of that trope. So like that's making fun of that. I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Or like I like creative camera angles because like sometimes they'll just have an angle from the shoulders up. They'll just show them that, but they're not covering up; they're still naked in there. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
The sheet thing bothers me.
Yeah. So for my next one, I have another car one that it's when cars go off a cliff or they crash into each other and they instantly explode. It's like that is not freaking realistic. Cars do not do that. Like you drive any car off a cliff, very rarely is it ever going to explode. Maybe in some rare cases, but like that's just not realistic. Like if I see like two cars crash and they instantly explode, I'm just like it just takes me out of it. I'm just like,
there's actually competitions in these countries. I was watching videos of the other day where they remote drive cars off these cliffs and these quarries, and it's like a fun like event they do every year. It's like in Australia or something, and they remote drive these cars off the cliffs just to crash them, like these old junk cars, just like do them at full speed and just do it just to see how many times I can get them to crash them. And like, guess what? None of them explode.
Yeah, they don't explode. It's like well, they just do that to kind of amp up the action, make it look more exciting or something, But yeah. Not realistic though.
No, definitely. So I have one more, and then I'll get into some more specific like genre kind of stuff. So, all right. So this is in every rom-com though. It's when the characters don't stop to just hear the explanation for the awkward situation. Like so many people get caught in an awkward situation that isn't what it is. When they say it's like not what it seems, it really isn't, and they don't stop for 5 minutes to let the person explain it, and that always leads into the breakup phase of the rom-com for 15 minutes. And I have to endure the 20 minutes of bullshit when they're broken up, when the person finally sits down and explains what it was, and it's like, oh, that actually makes sense. Yeah, well, if you had stopped to let me explain, like at the time, you could have avoided all this. Like, it's just nobody ever listens to anybody in those movies.
Yeah,
they listen to them for 2 minutes to clearly just like have a civil conversation and be like, no, like I came into the situation, this happened, and this happened, and this happened, so I can see why you see this, but it really wasn't this. We can't have that because we got to have the breakup portion of the movie. Well, so I hate that.
Well, that was actually on my list. Like it's a little higher up on it. So like I actually went with a couple of examples too. So like there's just on a couple of specific movies, like so for the movie 10 Things I Hate About You. So like in that movie, she gets pissed off because the whole reason why Heath Ledger's character is going out with Julia Stiles because they make a bet. They make a bet that he can't go on a date with her, and it's like so she gets pissed off about that. When all he needs to do is just say like, no, like we made this bet, but then like afterwards, like I actually really. I fell in love with you. I really got to like you. I really, really like you. Lots of my feelings are actually real, but he doesn't explain it. Doesn't have any time to explain it. She just gets pissed off, doesn't listen to anything, and just takes
it's when the girl or the guy, or whoever, they just get pissed off and they leave the situation instead of just listening to it. And again, that lead to probably lead. I haven't sat down and watched that movie in a long time, but does it lead to the breakup phase of the movie?
Yeah,
it's like for 15 minutes that you're waiting to get back together. Exactly,
it totally does.
It's the oldest trope of like rom-coms. Like it's the worst.
There's another one too that I brought up that I wrote down from The Wedding Singer when like Josie goes over to see Adam Sandler's character and like sees his ex wearing his T-shirt and like in the background, but it's like no, like that his ex had nowhere else to go, and so he let her stay there, and then she just happened to walk out in his t-shirt. Like it wasn't like they did anything, nothing happened, but she gets pissed off and just takes off, and it leads to the whole breakup scene. It's like if you would have just listened to the explanation, you would understand, But it's like they don't do that.
I don't like that in movies. It's lazy writing, man. Like just I can't believe you, and just storm out of the situation. Don't answer calls, don't answer messages. Nothing. It's just to be broken up for the sake of being broken up. Like nobody ever just listens to each other in movies and just explains things. So I don't like that.
Yeah. Well, my next couple of ones were already brought up. I had the unlimited ammo and like defusing the bomb at 1 or 2 seconds. But
okay.
Okay. Yeah. So one of the things that I hate, that I can't stand in a movie, is when they give way too many hints and like allude to things that are going to happen, but they give so many hints that it just makes the movie way too predictable, and you can predict the entire thing. And kind of like when like you have a villain and like they're going to turn good, but like they keep giving all these little hints, like they'll like do something bad, but then they'll kind of like stop and kind of hesitate to do it, or they'll kind of look at like some kind of like object that has some kind of meaning to them. Like a good example is like in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, they have that like black girl, like I think her name's Reva, and like the whole time, like you totally know she's gonna turn good because all the little hints they keep dropping, all these hints, she's gonna turn good. You're like, oh my gosh, come on, like
just turn good already.
Obvious.
Yeah.
Like when you just come out and say, okay, by the end of this, she's gonna turn good. It's just like and also to go along with that, it's like just because the villain turns good in the end, it's like a Darth Vader, like he redeems himself in Star Wars, that doesn't excuse all the like horrible murder and death and abuse and all the horrible things that they've done. They don't get a pass for all that.
Right.
You still did all that stuff. You're still a horrible person. You might have seen the error of your ways now, but like, so what? Like you already did all this shit. It's just like, but like you might be like want to be good, but like you're still like you got to go to jail. You got to like pay for what you did. You still got to do it because what happened happened.
Yeah, no, I mean it's true. Yeah, there are certain unforgivable things. Yeah, in those movies where it's like, no, I can't forgive you. That's the no.
It's like, oh, you turned good, so like, who cares that you like murdered my whole family? Like,
well, and that was the thing going into the Fast 9, the most recent one. It's like I still can't root for Jason Statham. You killed Han.
Yeah, right. You killed Han, so we're like, yeah.
And now you're at the family barbecue at the end of the movie. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and then they had to backtrack and do all this like complete. That's what the last 3 movies were. Is just backtracking, which is like I don't like where the series is going.
Because now Han's alive and he's back.
Yeah, he's back, and we had to make this convoluted explanation that still doesn't make any sense as to like why he's not dead. None of it makes any goddamn sense. So like it just I don't like any of that. It's
well, then they make it like a whole thing where like, don't they make it to where Jason Statham's character actually like saves him or no?
But
then he does Elba that like did
right, but he doesn't act like that in those movies.
Yeah,
he sure does brag about killing Han in the movie right after that. So that's just I don't know. It's completely inconsistent because we just got to have them team up. Whatever.
Yeah, right. It's like really...
all right. So my next one. You don't see this as much anymore, but hacking in movies bothers me. When it's just like when they open up their laptop, click. Okay, I'm in. What does that mean?
Yeah, it's like what? Yeah.
No, like you're not just in just because you clicked a couple of buttons. Like you're not going to hack into like the Pentagon mainframe because you typed in a couple of keys on your computer. Like what does that even mean? And now you instantly have control to everything that's on separate systems. How do you have control to the cameras? That's on a separate thing from like the internet. There's some guy physically controlling that in the security room. Like, what do you mean you're in? That doesn't make any sense. Like I just hacking. The hackers have too much control in movies. Like that's why even the Mission Impossible stuff gets a little weird with this. Like where it's just how does he have control of every single aspect of this like crummy building? You just shouldn't. Like that one. Like I love Gross Protocol, but that opening scene where he breaks him out of the jail or whatever. Like, but you look at that prison. That prison's a shithole. Like, how does he have control?
He opens all the gates at the same time. Like, like really.
So
Peg's character,
or they're just able to do something in 2 seconds with their like laptop, and it's like that just is weird. National Treasure does that a lot too with Justin Bartha's character. Yeah.
Or like recently, I was watching that movie, the the core where you have DJ Qual's character.
Yeah.
Like, I need like whatever in Hot Pockets and like he's hacking and all this stuff. It's like really
No, and they're like, oh, just hack the entire internet. That's not possible. What do you mean hack the internet?
Yeah,
that
it's
doesn't make
hacked
any
the entire
sense.
internet. Yeah, they actually say that. Yeah,
and then they send the video to everybody. You know, that one video, the tribute video, or whatever, at the end of that movie. Like they send it to everybody. Like, how would you do that? How would you even start doing that?
yeah, no,
That doesn't make any sense.
Not possible. Yeah.
Okay, let me just do my other one really quick because it kind of relates to it. So the hacking thing, and also anytime they're somebody's looking at an image and they tell them to enhance the image. Oh, enhance image grid 9. You can't enhance an image that wasn't there in the first place. I hate to tell you that.
No. Yeah,
You can't.
usually, like the more you enhance it, the blurrier it's gonna get. It's not gonna get.
You can't clear up something that was blurry to begin with. You can't just enhance it. Okay,
Yeah,
that doesn't exist. It's like you can't take a Polaroid picture and enhance that picture.
Yeah.
That's dumb. So yeah, I mean, you know, that's why we get all these blurry like bank, you know, cameras and all this kind of stuff. Like you can't enhance that with a magic button. Like that doesn't work. Like it's just that bugs me. Enhance image.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yep. Well, for my next one, I gotta talk about the shaky cam. Like I hate shaky cam stuff. I hate it when they're like trying to imply that there's more action. Like it's kind of like those Born Identity movies. The first one, they do it fine. There's not very much shaky cam to actually show cool action. Then the second one comes and it's like shaky cam everywhere, and it's like that's supposed to imply that there's more action, or like what's the point of it? I don't really get shaky cam. What's the point? Like, it's just lazy.
Well, and one thing really annoyed me. There was a movie that came out a couple of years ago called like Mile 43 or Mile 44 or something like that.
Yeah, like Mile 22 or something.
Yeah, whatever it was called with Mark Wahlberg. But here's the thing: they had Iko Uwais from the guy from the Raid, right? The guy from the 2 Raid movies, who's like this amazing fighter, right? And then instead of just letting him fight like some guys in a room and just do great choreography and like just pull the camera back and let him fight, right? They do the shaky cam thing the entire fight. And it's like, why are you doing this uber editing shaky cam stuff? This guy knows how to put on an amazing action scene. Like the Raid, you know, like the hallway fight in the Raid, right? The machete fight. You know, like you know, they pull the camera back and they just have amazing choreography. You know, there's a few cuts here and there at different angles, but like they just choreograph a scene. The John Wick movies just choreograph a scene really nicely, and you know, it's very fast, but like you can tell everything that's going on. So I hate that shaky cam shit too. That's just lazy. It's covering up for the people who don't want to do the choreography, or it's just a cover up for, oh, we can't get the guy to do it, so we got to have the stuntman really fast and just shake the camera around. Like it's a bad technique. I don't like it, which I hope it's going in a different direction because, there's a lot of good movies out there that don't do that, which I do appreciate.
Yeah. Well, it's like even in like certain movies where there's really no reason to even have a shaky cam, they'll do it. They even do it in like that Friday Night Lights movie. They're showing the like scenes of the football players on the field, like they're running around, but it's all shaky cam and you can't see what's actually happening. I'm like there's no need for that in a movie like this, really. It's weird. Just do
take time, get a stunt team that knows how to do choreography, pull the camera back a little bit and just let them have a good fight. You know, people appreciate the movie more, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, what's your next one?
Okay, so all right, so you can call me a misogynist. You can call me whatever you want. But I'm sorry. When a 110-pound woman beats up like 8 grown men, bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit. Especially if they're all have the same training or whatever. Like, I'm sorry, but Atomic Blonde, like Charlize Theron, 120 pounds of Charlize Theron, when she's like in a hallway with eight fully grown special forces military guys and she's kicking the shit out of them, I don't buy that. Sorry, I don't care how good you are, but that's bullshit. Like I see it more and more now of just like, you know, if it's a one-on-one fight, that's one thing. You know, you can like, you know, I could buy that, but when they're like outnumbered by like 10 people and they just beat up all 10 people, like I just don't buy that. I'm sorry. Our bodies are structured differently. You know, there's a reason why men don't fight women in MMA, you know, or boxing. There's a reason for that.
Right.
So, like in real life, like that shit, especially when the other guys, the henchmen or whatever, have just as much training or something, I just don't buy it. So, like, I'm kind of tired of that.
Well, to go along with it too, it's like they always say, like a man can never hit a woman, so that's a horrible thing because men are obviously stronger than women. So, like some movies, they'll be like a man can't hit a woman, but a woman can beat the shit out of a man, and that's totally fine, and that's okay. But it's like a man can't ever lay hands on a woman. Well, like for me, it depends on the situation. If it's a movie and it's clearly a villain that's coming after you, trying to kill you or something, you can lay hands on that one. Like, sorry, you can. Yeah, but yeah. Let's see. My next one is okay. So it's another horror movie one, but it happens in a few other movies. But I think horror movies are the worst offenders. Horror movies that are way too effing dark, when it's like so dark you can't see what's happening. Like it's like, get out of here with that. It's like, I know you're like trying to portray a certain vibe and like a certain feel to it, but when it's so dark that it's like you have to be like literally like watching like in a dark theater with all the windows blacked out or like no light to be able to see it, then it's like, what's the point? You know? So yeah, there's a lot of them that are kind of like over the top with that. But
I'm saving my two big horror ones for my last two, since horror is like my favorite genre. So everything for me, my next one, everything about knockouts in movies is just inaccurate. So when you see these guys get like punched in the face and they lay on the ground unconscious for like 10 minutes. Okay, if that actually happened, it means you have brain damage.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And knockouts in general. If you ever see videos of people just getting knocked out in real fights, you go on World Star, you go on YouTube, whatever. They get knocked out. It's like they're sitting there, but like they're kind of like just they're glassy eyed, still kind of moving. They don't just lay there like this. For like 20 minutes, just knocked out. You know what I mean? Like if you're laying there like that and then you get back up and like somebody splashes some water on you, you shake it out of it. Like you would, if you're laying like that, it means you're in a coma. That's like everything about knockout movies bothers me. Like, oh, I knocked him out and he's just still laying there 20 minutes later. Like bullshit. Like that's not how things work. And if you get knocked out, like most people snap out of it within a minute or whatever. If somebody gets knocked out in the UFC, they get attended to by a doctor. They're kind of back out of it. A minute later. I mean, they're still loopy and they or it takes a while to come back from that, but like they're not like laid out unconscious laying still for 30 minutes. That just bugs me. Just body after body after body, henchman after henchman just knocked out. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
We'll kind of go along with that too, is like when the hero's fighting like a big group of guys, and it's like they're like hitting them, like they'll do like one little punch, one little kick, and it's like they're like totally incapacitated, and they move on to the next guy. They're fighting all these guys. Yeah. No, it's like one little kick isn't gonna take them out. It's like they're still gonna come after you. You're not gonna be able to like take on that many guys all at once. But it's
and unless you're a trained fighter or something, and you hit that right button like in the UFC that just knocks you out instantly, your average punch is not going to completely knock somebody out. It might hurt, but it's not like going to incapacitate a person where they can't keep fighting. Especially a lot of the people in that situation where their adrenaline's going and stuff, a lot of them are going to shrug off a lot of those shots and just keep coming at you. Like there's your body works in different ways when your adrenaline's pumping and you're kind of going all over the place. But a lot of that stuff is weird. Or somebody gets knocked out from getting like kicked in the chest. That's weird. Crazy stuff like that. I don't know. Fights in movies. I mean, it depends on the movie, but there's a lot of little things in fights that bug me.
Well, we'll go to a couple of my extra ones that I had, because you mentioned about 3 or 4 of the ones I had on my list, but one of the ones that I have is that when a spouse is so naive that they literally can't put 2 and 2 together, that their husband's cheating on them, or like they have some like secret job as like a secret agent or superhero or like something, but they're like so naive, they just sit at home, everything's fine, like they just have a smile on their face the entire time. Like in real life, like people are gonna get suspicious, they're gonna question that shit, and they're gonna like obviously know something's going on. But it's like so many times in movies, like they just get away with it because they make the wife to be just kind of like a ditzy, naive person that just sits at home and has no clue, apparently. Well,
there's always going to be movies with silly behavior or illogical behavior or things like, why are you not questioning that? Why did you not ask about this or whatever? It's you're
gonna ask about that?
No, we're not. We're just gonna move on. How was your day? All right, so my last 4 are mostly you see in horror movies. So I hate tacky jump scares, like cheap jump scares. Like when it's just like a noise is the jump scare, where okay, did the person in the movie hear that noise you just made on the soundtrack? Because
Yeah,
why are
right.
they jumping? Why are they jumping because of that noise? You know, like that doesn't make any sense. Like when you're just using noise, noises are not scares. Okay, noises are
No.
just noises. That's startling. That's not scary. But like the most annoying one has to be the cat jump scare.
Oh
Like
yeah, the cat.
that's the worst. Like, oh, I heard
That's
something
bad.
over here, and I opened the cabinet, and a cat jumped. Why the fuck was the cat in that cabinet? Like,
Yeah.
and a cat just jumps off the ceiling all of a sudden, and just jumps on top of everybody. Like, or a cat just runs around the corner. Like the cat jump scare is one of the laziest things I think ever in horror movies. That just means like you don't have any material and you're just stretching the scene out. I hate cat jump scares. I hate cheap jump scares. There's another cheap jump scare tactic that I'll talk about in just a second for my next one, but the cat one is pretty bad. I don't like those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate that one too. Yeah, like there are instances of like really good at jump scares, like take The Exorcist 2. You got one of the best jump scares.
Exorcist 3, yeah.
I mean Exorcist 3, yeah. We're just like really get you, but it's like it's not cheap, yeah. Yeah, but so on a couple of other ones that I have here. So like one of the ones is like when the hero's fighting the bad guy, and like usually the majority of the time they get their ass kicked for like 3/4 of that time, and then finally at the very end they like find some kind of strength, some kind of power to just win the fight, and they get some kind of power out of nowhere, and somehow they just win, and they do something really cool to win the fight, and it's like
the previous
the rest of that
damage. What happened to the previous damage that's been done to the other guy beating the shit out of you for 15 minutes? Like, I mean, you see that in a lot of Van Damme movies. Lionheart is really bad about that.
Yeah.
Or Kickboxer, the original Kickboxer is really bad, where Tong Po just absolutely destroys Van Damme for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then, all of a sudden he just finds some inner motivation, and it's like, I find the inner motivation, and now I can just do everything that I couldn't do a minute ago. Like, that's weird.
Well, usually after getting your ass kicked for like 3/4 of the fight is when you're gonna have less power. You're not just gonna gain some extra power. I don't know.
Yeah. So there's a wrestling tie into that. That's why a lot of people got annoyed with John Cena for a long time. He had a lot of these matches where the bad guy would beat the crap out of him for like 20 minutes, and then he would just like hit 3 moves at the end, like just power up out of nowhere, hit 3 moves and win right out of nowhere. But the other guy would take 20 minutes of the match, and he does 2 minutes of stuff at the end, and he wins. Like that just doesn't make any logical sense, Like it's just weird. So yeah, that's bad. All right, so my other jump scare trope that I hate, and it's just something that it just annoys me in general because nobody does this in real life. When somebody just comes out of nowhere and puts their hand on somebody's shoulder and it scares the shit out of them, like you know what I'm talking about? Like instead of doing the human thing by going like, "Hey, I'm here. What's going on?"
Yeah.
Hi. How about you say something when you enter the room instead of just walking up to them and putting your hand on their shoulder? Who does that? I swear this is only something that happens in movies. Like that only happens in movie world where people just walk up and put their hand on somebody and just like scare the shit out of them. Like I don't like that, and it's used a million times in movies. It annoys me.
Well, like funny enough, like for whatever reason, in a lot of jobs that I've had, like especially working overnight too, like I used to have one work overnight in like grocery stores doing some merchandise stuff, and like I like go find someone in like an aisle that's like working, and like I have a question for them, so I'll be like, walk up and be like, hey, like where this is, and they'll jump and they'll be like, oh my gosh, you just scared the hell out of me. I'm like, okay, I just casually walked up here, but okay.
Well, at least they said something. They didn't just walk up to you and put their hand on your head or something. Like, it's like that's just weird. I hate that in movies. That just annoys the shit out of me. So, all right.
Well, next one is a pretty minor one. It doesn't really bother me that much, but it's just kind of something to kind of think about that they do in movies though. But it's when people are like clearly in their 20s or 30s or even older, but they're playing high schoolers, kind of like I'm looking at you, Tobey Maguire and Spider-Man. You're clearly like 30 years old playing a high school kid. It's like is that very realistic? Or like the whole cast of Wet Hot American Summer. I think they kind of do that one on purpose though. Just I don't know, they're just like making fun of it. Or like Henry Winkler as the Fonz. He's like clearly not a high school kid. or even Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future. Or they do it in like Breakfast at Tiffany's. Aubrey Hepburn's supposed to be in high school, I guess, and they're supposed to be believable. It's like, really? I
think one of the worst ones I saw recently was when we did our baseball episode of Tier Ranker, and was it Jimmy Stewart or was it somebody else? Like they were just like getting out of college baseball, but like they didn't recast the part for like a 20-year-old, so it's like 45-year-old so and so playing like 20-year-old just getting out of college.
Yeah.
And literally, he's like looks like he's 50. Like
Yeah,
it's terrible. That's like, but you know what movie makes fun of that greatly is Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story, when he turns 14 and then they just immediately jump to John C. Reilly. And he's just like, I'm just an average 14-year-old just trying to make my way in the world.
Yeah.
But they make
trying to make my way in the world.
but they make fun of it by having John C. Reilly just say he's 14. Like, but it's played for comedy though. You know what I mean? Like, I like that. But yeah, that's something. But I mean, what are you going to do? Most actors that are 16 are terrible. So I mean, what are you going to do? Sometimes you got to cast a little bit older.
Yeah, like it doesn't bother me that much. Like
Yeah.
Tobey Maguire, I'm like, well, he was a good actor and he played it well. So it's like, who really cares? I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So my final two are my big horror movie tropes that I hate. When a character gets to their car and the car won't start. Fuck you. Fuck you. That's lazy. Okay, that's lazy. And look, you see that a lot in older movies. And like, unless you have a completely junk crap car that they establish like doesn't start well in the first place, you know, at the beginning of the movie, like you can't do this in modern movies. Like where you have a modern car and you go out to your modern car and it doesn't start. Like, get out of here with that, dude. Dude, when you start your car, unless something's actually wrong, like your battery's dead or something, like 9,999 times out of 10,000, your car is going to start. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, this is ridiculous. Like the fact, like if you have to do that in your movie to just add tension, then that's lazy. You're just being lazy and you didn't know how to extend your scene. Yeah.
Or like some movies would be like, somebody clipped the battery cables. Oh my gosh, what a coincidence. That's like,
so, well, if they could do that, why didn't they like do something to you inside the house? You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean? Like, when did they have time to do that? You know, like, or just, it's, unless you establish that your car is a piece of garbage from the beginning. And of course, if you do that in the beginning, you know it's not going to start later. But like when every single time in every horror movie they get to the car and the car won't start, like that's bullshit. Like I call it BS every time because most cars will start like immediately unless there's something actually wrong with it. So I hate that. It's just a lazy trope that it's just to create tension. Like and you could have just extended the chase sequence or whatever, just not have them go to the car. You know, whatever. You know, something. Anything, something, but that annoys me. So
bad, yeah. Well, so my top two, and these are my definitive two. So we'll start with my number two. But this happens a lot in a lot of family movies, especially. But it's like when two characters, especially like teenagers or whatever, they're about to kiss, and then something will come along to interrupt them, and they never get a kiss. It's like, who the hell cares? Just let them kiss. You want them to kiss. You want them to get together, and it just doesn't happen in certain movies. Like, it's just so annoying. It's like just let them kiss. Who cares? You know.
It even happens in Empire Strikes Back. Remember when C-3PO cock blocks Han and Leia on the Millennium Falcon when they're fixing stuff?
Yeah.
You know, like it even happens in that when they're like, well, you know, my hands are dirty. My hands are dirty too. You know, you shouldn't get away from me. Stop it. You know, they're flirting with each other and they're about to and see, sir. You know, I was like, oh Jesus Christ, come on. Like,
they need to kiss. Come on, just let them kiss.
Just let them kiss. Just whatever. Yeah.
And like, it's an annoying thing because they like do it on purpose to. Like that's like written into the scene that they're not going to be able to kiss, and it's like part of me just wants to be like so what if they got interrupted? Like, just kiss anyways, just do it. Come on, and you know. But
you can look at him and be like, just a minute, kiss.
yeah, right.
So that's annoying. All right, so my number one, and again, it's specifically a horror movie thing. When the person being chased or the victim has the killer vulnerable and does not finish them off with all their might, just walks away from the situation or drops the weapon and runs away, like when they have them, you know, unconscious or whatever, like finish them off. Okay, if it's clearly this person who's been stalking you the whole movie or trying to kill you the whole time, or they've injured you, whatever. They clearly deserve to die, right? It's not like some innocent person chasing you or whatever, they clearly deserve, whatever. Like, I'm sorry, if I'm in that situation and I finally get you down or whatever, I will beat your head until there's brains all over the floor. Like, and I will make sure you're dead. You know what I mean? I will stab you 800 times to make sure you're dead. I will cut your head off. I will do whatever I have to do to make sure you're dead. Like, and the fact that they just like hit him one time with something and then just like just stand around and look around to wait for them to get back up. You know what I mean? Like, that's stupid. I hate that.
Yeah. Well, a couple of things about that. That's kind of my number one too. Like, like the same exact thing. I mean, but it happens also like not just in horror movies. It happens in like some action movies.
Yeah,
it happens in like a lot of different movies. It's like sometimes that will like result in like another character getting killed because they allow the villain to survive. And yeah, that's like literally my thing when it's like they have the villain right there, like they have the chance to kill him, and it's like either they like make some kind of stupid reason why they can't kill him, or it's like them having like a moral conscience they're not going to kill him. It's like really like just do it.
Well, there's a lot of reasons why people bailed on The Walking Dead, even when they stuck around for the Negan stuff, right? So they stuck around for the Negan stuff even after he killed Glenn or whatever and did all this horrible stuff. Then the main character, Sheriff Rick, tells the entire season, every time he encounters Negan, says, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you. You're like, your blood's going to be on my hand, like, I'm going to kill you. And then he has the chance to do it. Like, he's defeated Negan. He has him, like, down on the ground up against this tree, and he has, like, a moral conscience all of a sudden, and is like, decides not to. Like, bullshit. Kill him.
Well, and that to make a whole thing that makes it even worse because they have a whole storyline with, like, Carl, where, like, he, like, has some, like, big like change of conscience, telling everybody they shouldn't kill anymore. Like, we should find another way. We should find a better way. So he doesn't do it because he thinks back about what his own son said, and he wants to listen to his son and like be a better father or something stupid like that.
And Rick had no problem. Rick had no problem going into these facilities in the middle of the night and just like stabbing and shooting other henchmen guys. Like no problem whatsoever, just killing those guys immediately. Like, who knows if those guys were even like just low level nobodies that just joined the group or whatever just to survive. And then like you get the main guy who's literally right in front of you, beating two of your people's heads in, and killed them, and also, killed a lot of other people and taken all your stuff or whatever, is clearly the threat. And then like you have this moral conscience over him, like that's stupid. Like you should just kill him.
They make it like a whole thing. They make it like a thing where like anytime that they encounter anyone that they don't know or they're not sure if they can trust, that they have to kill them because if they don't, then they're putting their own lives at risk by doing that. So they make it a whole thing. Then they completely flip it, and they're like, "We're not going to kill him." It's like, really?
Yeah, that's annoying, and that's one of the reasons I quit watching that show.
And also,
like, come on, man, like
they like totally tried to redeem Negan's character too, to like make him kind of a good guy. And it's like, no, like the way that he killed them in like one of the most brutal scenes in television history in that kind of way, and you're gonna try to redeem this character? Fuck that. Like, no, that's not gonna work.
And he killed other people throughout he killed other members of their crew and like all these other people and just terrorized them for like, season after season. Like, no.
Right.
No. Bullshit. But yeah, like anytime they don't have the opportunity, like they have no problem killing henchmen.
Was the worst.
Yeah, but same thing with action movies. They have no problem just shooting everybody in sight up until the final guy. Like, why do you always have a moral quandary about the guy who's running everything? Like that doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
Well, that's one reason why I love things like James Bond or like Indiana Jones. So like James Bond, like he has a license to kill and he won't hesitate. He goes up to those guys, shoots them in like 2 seconds, kills every single guy that he goes up against. He doesn't hesitate, he doesn't stop, he just kills. And so that's one big reason why I'm a big James Bond fan. And then also Indiana Jones kind of does it too. He doesn't hesitate. He just goes for it, like so there's like two main characters I can think of that really don't hesitate. So yeah.
Well, or he just doesn't shed any tears if they happen to get killed in the situation. You know what I mean? He's not shedding tears over that. When him and Molaram are fighting on the collapsed bridge thing or whatever, and dude falls off and gets eaten by the crocodiles, he's not shedding a tear over that. He's smiling, like good. Yeah. Good. That guy's dead. That's probably a good thing.
Well, the worst thing to me too, when it gets even worse, is like when when like someone's about to kill someone, but then another character comes up and they're like, no, you're not gonna be able to live with yourself. Just think about that. Like if you do this, you're gonna be thinking about this for the rest of your life. Don't, and they like tell them like specifically not to kill, and it's like what are you doing? Let him like finish him off. Get out of here.
Well, and that's the thing with like people talk about Batman. It's like, oh, Batman doesn't kill, but like there's a great scene in that Injustice, one of those Injustice games, like one of those cutscenes where his son Damien has like that Zaz guy, like with a knife to his throat, like he's got that Zaz guy kidnapped, like, and Zaz was like the serial killer, like killed like hundreds of people, like he raped women, he killed women, he killed children, he killed everybody. Like he's a horrible human, like he's a complete demon, you know what I mean? Like he's a plague on humanity. And like Batman's like, Damon, you can't cross that line. What are you doing? And he's just like, how many people has he killed? He's killed hundreds of people. And he's like, and he's not sorry about it. Are you, Zaz? And he's like, oh, I'd kill more if you let me go right now. You know, like he's like, clearly he's not gonna stop. He's done.
Yeah.
And then like and then Damien goes like, he's like, no, you can't do it, you can't do it. And Damien just slits his throat right there and he goes, look, done. Now he can't kill anybody else. He's dead.
Yeah, right.
You know, like,
done. Easy.
Like
that's easy as that.
Well, that's the whole if you remember Daredevil season 2 when Punisher and Daredevil have their little thing where he's got Daredevil tied to that pole or whatever, and they're having their thing about killing or not killing. You remember? Like, did you watch Daredevil season 2? Like, and Punisher's like, when I put them down, they stay down. You know what I mean? They don't come back. They don't get out of jail. They don't come back for more. They don't hurt anybody else. Like I put them down, they're done. You know what I mean? They don't kill anybody else. You know, like what you do your things, but I'm gonna do things my way. That's my way. You know, like I'm gonna do what I do. It's like
the reason why I love the Punisher character too. That I've read a lot of Punisher comics. Mm-hmm. And like he doesn't hesitate to kill. Like he just kills because they give him a reason to, because he kills these guys to save people, because if he doesn't kill these guys, they're going to come back and they're going to hurt more people, you know? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's like, no, I'm going to kill this mob boss who orders hits on hundreds of people, and I'm going to kill this man. I'm going to put a bullet in his head. I'm going to end him. And he has no problem with that. So he's like, I'm going to kill every single one of them. Great. Sounds good. We can't kill him. I'm just going to put you in jail. Okay, so I arrest you, and then your mob lawyer gets you out of jail 2 minutes later and goes to kill somebody. That happens in a lot of movies too. And then the guy will get out of jail because they're a lawyer, because they bought off the judge or whatever, and they go out and do exactly what they said they were going to do 5 minutes later. You know what I mean? They do it, and so it just creates more conflict.
What happens in a lot of Batman movies too? That's why they have Arkham Asylum stuff, where like every single villain is like locked up in Arkham Asylum, and then eventually, like, they're going to escape, they're going to come after him again, and it's just like an excuse for them to continue the story with these characters, and it's just stupid. It's like, there's nothing wrong with like killing characters, but killing characters actually it creates more stakes too. It's like like if you kill like the villain or even like one of the heroes off, like you can still come up with like new villains, new heroes, new things if you want to continue it, or you can just end it there and just be done, you know? Like it's just but that's kind of fitting though that we both kind of had the same number one, so
or at least to a degree, kind of the same one. But that annoys me to no end when they don't finish somebody off, or they just have a weird last minute moral quandary for zero reason just to stretch out the drama. Like that's dumb.
But I think that'll do it. So that's pretty interesting to just kind of think about those things. I even have I like more of these. Like my list goes all the way up to like
you can throw a couple out there real quick, or just run them down real quick. That's fine. I mean, we're just talking.
Sure.
It's podcast league now. We're just talking. But I mean, we already said our most annoying ones. But I'm sure there's other little things I could probably think of too. But like you can run them down. It's fine.
Well, like a lot of these other ones are just like some smaller ones that like in horror movies, why is it every time someone's moving into a new house, every single time they're moving into a new house, but it's like the house is going to be haunted or like whatever, it's just like it's like really that happens too much.
It's never a house that they've already lived in for 10 years.
Right. And just like
and they're always also like moving from the big city to like the suburbs. Like I'm so glad we're out of the big city and we're in the suburbs now. We're in the neighborhood now. They always say how they had the job in the big city and now they're moving like out to a quiet life in the suburbs. Like that's always the same thing.
Well, they do it in like horror movies. They do it in
they do it in dramas too. Yeah,
they do it in like drama. They've been doing like comedy. That movie Funny Farm with like Chevy Chase. He moved out to the farm to get away or like whatever.
Yeah,
they do that kind of stuff. But or Or like this is another kind of smallish one, but it's kind of interesting. When like people can magically just see perfectly underwater without a mask or any goggles or anything. They can swim underwater and they can see. Like one of the Mission Impossible movies does it really bad, where like Tom Cruise is like literally underwater for like almost 5 minutes straight, and like he's just swimming around. You can see totally fine. It's like really like most people would be like near blind like underwater.
Well, then water's dark.
Yeah.
Unless you're in like a very clear river or a clear lake or something, or with a lot of sunlight, water's dark. It's hard to see.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like water's dark. Yeah. Or let's see. So like in movies, when like high schoolers have a party every single weekend, it's like every high school movie, we're having a huge party, we're having a rage, we're going to so and so's party. It's like
where are these rages?
Yeah, it's like do high schoolers have parties every weekend? Like, is that a thing? Because it didn't happen in mine. Like, maybe
I didn't go to a single rager ever.
yeah.
Like, who's having and I never heard of any of these parties. Yeah, I think some of these things only exist in Hollywood land.
Yeah.
And well, then also did you ever know anybody who got a swirly?
No, I never knew.
I'm pretty sure that only exists in movies as well. People getting like dunked in the toilet because like a bully in real life would just hit you.
Yeah.
Why would they bother to like try to flip you over into a toilet and try to lift you up and try to dunk your head? That's dumb. Like why would they just punch you?
Well, one of the funny things is that like my nephew who is having a birthday party tomorrow, like I would joke with him, I'd be like, I'm gonna give you a swirly, and like it was like a swirly. And I'll be like, it's when you lift somebody up and you put their hair in the toilet and then you flush it. And like just being a little kid, he's like, awesome, do that to me. Like yeah, that sounds fun. So when I go over there, he'll be like, you're gonna give me a swirly? I'm like, I'm not gonna give you a swirly, but I want a swirly. Like that sounds cool. It's funny.
Well, then swirlies wouldn't work very well now with low flow toilets.
yeah, right.
You wouldn't get that swirling action. We gotta save water.
Yeah. I got a couple other kind of small ones. Let's see. Like in like rom-coms when like there's always some kind of scene where they have to do like either like a very public proposal or like a very public I love you scene where they go to some long drawn out thing and they like confess all their feelings. But it's always like in a very public place where they like clearly they're just doing it either to like virtue signal or to show off or whatever. They're just like really trying to just like show off to like people around. They want other people to see. It's like I don't really understand that. That's not realistic. Yeah. So, or like here's another horror one. When a character goes to the cops and they're like telling the cops about a killer or a phenomenon, and the cops don't believe them, and so they have to take matters in their own hands because the cops won't believe anything that they're saying. Like that happens way too many
times. If you reported an actual crime, the cops have to take that seriously.
Yeah, right.
Like that's their job.
Ignore it or like laugh it off.
Yeah. That's like. I don't. Yeah, there's even stuff with Get Out like that bothers me. When this dude's like reporting, like, no, my friend's been missing for like 4 days. Like, can you please investigate? Like I'm pretty sure he's been like kidnapped by the crazy cult or something. Like, can you please do something about that?
There's a movie that actually I kind of like. That's like I mean, you could call it a guilty pleasure, but actually like really like the movie. It's called Gone. It's a movie that has Amanda Seyfried in it, where she goes to the cops because her sister's actually gone. She disappeared, and she was kidnapped, like for real, by an actual like person. And she goes to the cops every like so often, and like the cops never believe her, so they just treat her like she's some kind of like the girl who cried wolf. Here comes crazy so and so. Here she comes again. She's gonna like cry to us about her sister that just disappeared, and they kept saying. Like telling him, no, she's dead. You have to face the fact that she's dead. Well, in the movie, you find out no, because she takes matters into her own hands. And you find out something different. So yeah.
Well, even in Home Alone, and I know you love Home Alone, but like when they send the cop over to the house to like try to check on Kevin, he's like hiding under the covers, and the cop just goes, she's crazy. Tell her to count their kids again. Like, no, right. She knows her kid is not there.
Yeah,
the kid is clearly not with her. Like what? You just gonna brush it off and just leave? Okay.
Yeah. I'll just throw out one last one that's like one that like doesn't happen too many or or like too often, but like there's been a couple recently that actually have happened when the music's way too loud and it's like louder than the actual dialogue. I'm looking at you, Christopher Nolan, because in like Tenet and some of those movies when you can't hear anything, you miss like the whole plot and like the whole explanation because the music's too loud. I feel like in his movies, he just has these scenes where the music just gets like blaringly loud. Like in Inception, it'll do it, or like Interstellar, it just gets really loud. And like sometimes it'll work, but a lot of times it doesn't. It just takes me out of it. It's like whoa, that got really loud. One of those things where you're like watching it on your home sound system, you have to turn it down because you're like whoa, that got like really loud all of a sudden.
Yeah, no, I'm constantly have to adjust my volume because none of the balance is correct for the movie. Yeah, that's annoying. Yeah, I think that's most of the ones that I had. I'm sure there's other ones out there, but yeah, and just even I don't know. Yeah, people don't when people don't work together when they clearly should. Even the thing where like. In Twister, which I love Twister, but when Carrie Elways like is not listening to Bill Paxton being like, no, this tornado is clearly going to kill you in like 30 seconds if you don't turn around. Like, I'm not saying that just to like screw around with you. Like, turn around. Like, I'm not trying to harm you. And even his buddy, like his driver, is just like, no, I don't think he'd put us in harm's way. I think he's actually trying to help us. It's like, no. He's just trying to. He just wants the money for himself. It's just like, people don't listen to reason.
One of the things you got to check out, they actually have it on YouTube. They have a Family Guy clip where it's Michael Bay's Peter Griffin gets fired from his job, and it's like half an episode long, about like 15 minutes long, of like every single movie trope that ever happens that like people get annoyed with. Every single one, like over and over and over, and it just gets so ridiculous. You have all the like gratuitous kind of like shots that Michael Bay has, all the kind of swirling weirdo shots, and then you have like zooming into like women's asses and like boobs and everything, and then just like all the random product placement and just like saying the most ridiculous lines of a dialogue that just make no sense. Like it's pretty good. You have to check it out. But yeah, but yeah, I think that'll do it for us though for this podcast. We haven't really talked about what we want to do for our next one. I kind of thought maybe doing like movies we think deserve a sequel or a remake. I mean, just an idea. We can kind of think about it. We'll post it on our social media. That's not locked in or anything, but it's an idea that I was kind of thinking of. But we can kind of think about what we want to do for our next one. So yeah, and we've been trying to do this once a week. Like sometimes we'll schedule it if we can get either Jacob Barber or Chris Scott on. We'll do it around their schedule, or we'll just do it whenever it works best for us. So that's why it's always good to follow us on social media. You can follow us at Movie Hero 2121 on Twitter and Instagram, or the Showdown Friends and Family on Facebook, or you can just hit subscribe and the little bell, and that'll just pop up whenever we go live with anything like this. So follow us there. So but yeah, we'll call it good. But do you have anything that you want to promote or like tell us where we can find you on?
No, I mean Lonely Marks is on hiatus this week, so we'll be back next week reviewing some stuff and having a little fun. And same with Jacob Barber's out of town this week, so we'll do a podcast about movies, probably not this weekend, but next weekend. We'll be talking some musicals, and I believe I'm hosting Top 12 Frenzy next week. Maybe on Monday-ish is what we're thinking, something like that. So
so thinking Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern is what I'm thinking. So we can try and do it.
I got 30 categories ready to roll. So I'll be excited and ready to go.
Yeah. So if there's anyone out there that might be tuning in that might want to play some Top 12 Frenzy, where we just kind of go back and forth trying to guess things off of top 12 lists that are mostly movie related topics, but we'll go into some other like sports and music and geography and some things like that. So if you want to play it, you can just hit me up on social media. You can DM me or just try and get a hold of me that way. That's probably the best way to do it. We also have an email. If you have any ideas for any shows that we do, it's moviehero2121@gmail.com. You can follow us there. We also have a Patreon now. So if you want to have a guaranteed spot on any episodes, Patreon is the way to do it because you'll be guaranteed 100% for any episode that you want, and there's different levels. There's some tiers that'll just give you one episode guaranteed, and there's certain ones that'll give you one per month. There's even one that'll do 2 per month, and then there's one that's the highest tier that will let you create your own episode. You pick the topic, you pick who you want to be on the episode with you. You pick when we film, all that stuff, and we'll make it happen. And then we're also doing some giveaways. We're giving away some movie posters and a few things like that. So you just go over to patreon.com/moviehero. You can find out all the information there. So it also helps us out because all the money we just put right back into the channel. Want to be able to do more of this content. We want to be able to do some travel vlogs, which we'll be able to get a little preview of when we do our trip me and Austin are doing in September, where I'm going to be bringing my movie camera with me. I'm going to film everything, and we're going to post some live videos. I'll be doing some edited stuff that'll actually have some like effects and music to it, that kind of stuff. So yeah, you can get a little taste of it that way too. So you want to try and do more of that kind of stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and then also just to give you a little preview of what's coming up, I'll just give you just a couple quick ones. I'll give the longer preview when we do tournament fights this Sunday night, but on Sunday we'll be doing Brian Nussbaum's top 128 favorite movies. So he's got some pretty unique ones that maybe haven't shown up on tournament fights a lot. So you can tune in for that. And then we'll also be doing our top 128 movie franchises of all time. That'll be on Tuesday. So that's kind of what you can look forward to this week. So yeah, I think that'll do it. So we'll call it good there. So that was a fun time, and we'll let you know as soon as we decide on a good topic for our next podcast. We'll put it on our social media. We'll let you know. So yeah, but
I kind of have an idea for our next episode. We should do one about. There's a topic that goes around the internet a lot called kinder trauma. Do you know what kinder trauma is?
No.
So kinder trauma is things in either movies or TV shows or pop culture that just scared you beyond your belief that didn't necessarily have to be horror movies. Things that scared you as a kid or something that like stuck with you for a long time. That for whatever reason just did. And again, it could be horror movies, stuff you saw on TV, maybe briefly that scared you, or just even stuff in like family movies, like stuff that traumatized you as a kid, or stuff you saw.
Could it be something from real life that like scared you and it's not even in a movie? I don't know. Like, there's a couple things like that for me. I don't know.
Maybe, but this is more of a movie TV kind of thing, is kinder trauma, but yeah.
Well, it could kind of be like, well, this scared me in real life, so then when I saw this movie, it's freaked me out even more. It could
maybe if you could tie it into a movie, yeah.
Well, yeah, that sounds interesting. Yeah, we can kind of talk about it, but
we'll talk about it. We'll see. Yeah. But there's like those glimpses you think, things you see on TV, or like I said, there's stuff that people stick with them in even family films, just like little sequences that freak them out. Maybe it's like a design of a creature. People would say like a Pee-wee's Big Adventure, like the Large March scene. It's not like a horror movie, but like the Large March, thing in that movie like scared a lot of people.
Blah,
like that thing.
Yeah. Like there's a thing in like Home Alone 2 when he's just walking around the streets of New York. He doesn't have anywhere to go.
Yeah.
And like there's like people coming to him, watch it, kid. And they're like laughing in his face. And then he gets in the cab and he's like, you're much better in here, kid. And he's like,
stuff like that. Like stuff like that. That's like family film stuff that freaks you out as a kid. And it's not even a horror movie.
Or some people even got freaked out by the pigeon lady herself, So.
Yeah. Well, to me, it's not those guys that freak me out. There's one lady that walks past him in the one sequence that's just going, it's here, fast, it's fast,
And
that's just that's freaky. Like one of those schizophrenic people.
Yeah.
That freaks me out.
Exactly.
No, I mean, it could be stuff like that. Stuff in like family films that just like those crazy weird sequences that for whatever reason are kind of like horror movie sequences that like freak you out. Yeah, the one cab driver just go like, "Hey, much better in here, kid."
You're
like, "Oh my god, what the hell? What is this? Like fucking Beetlejuice?"
or like even from the first movie, the guy it's like the old man shoveling snow, and then he like shows up at the door, like whatever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
no, we could do something. If you could think of stuff like that, I just think that'd be kind of a fun topic, like stuff that freaked us out as kids. Again, some of them could. I have scenes I can talk about that I saw of horror movies that freaked me out, but also like non-horror movies. I have like a Price is Right thing that freaked me out. I'll talk about. But yeah, I have a thing from America's Funniest People that freaked me out. Like all kinds of stuff I could talk about. So yeah, maybe something like that we could talk about and see.
There's certain things that are just like. For me, like I saw the movie poster, like the cover to it, and like just the look of the creatures.
Yeah, that can count. Yeah, yeah, and maybe if you can find the image, you can bring it up on the show. Like it'd be like, no, this I saw this at the video store and this freaked me out. You know, like whatever.
Yeah.
Like just the cover.
Yeah, or there's like certain things that like even like surprising enough, even now there's a couple things here and there. Like that shouldn't freak me out, but it like kind of does. Like even in like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is the scene where his face gets kind of cut up and like I went to a different cube, like
Right.
and like that just kind of like it gives me like the like chills for a minute. I'm just like ooh, like if that happened to a real person, that'd be like.
Well, it's similar to when Thanos turns Batista into like the little cube block person and makes him like fall apart, like in the war, you know, and he just like falls apart. It's like, what would that feel like? That's weird. Like, like if you experience something like that, like, oh my god, that's horrifying. Like,
right. yeah. So
we can talk about stuff like that. Yeah, anything you can come up with, TV, movies, whatever. Yeah, just posters or box covers for movies or whatever. Yeah, anything. Totally.
Yeah, there's definitely something I can think of. I won't give them away here. We'll wait till the
episode. Well, pull out your note app when you get off the air and start jotting them down. You know what I mean? If you can think of stuff.
But yeah, I think that'll do it for us tonight. So we'll call it good. So for Austin Pez Howell, I've been Jordan, the movie hero Anderson, and we'll see you next time.